And I want to thank you all for coming out this evening to the City of Riviera Beach 2021 Election Information Forum. I am Claudine Anthony, City Clerk for the City of Riviera Beach. And as you all may or may not be aware, there have been changes in our election laws. So that is the purpose of our forum tonight, is to learn about these new election laws that affect us as voters. The way this is going to go, Mrs. Link is going to give her presentation. There will be a time for question and answers. You will either be welcome to walk up to the mic to ask your questions, or Ms. Etta Chico has slips of paper where you can write your question on it and give it back to her. You do not have to put your name on the piece of paper, just write your question, and we'll read the question on your behalf, okay? So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and read the bio for Ms. Link. Wendy Satora Link has served as the Supervisor of Elections for Palm Beach County since January 18, 2019. In her quest to deliver fair, transparent, and secure elections to the almost 1 million voters in Palm Beach County, Ms. Link promotes the values that have been the key to her success: integrity, accountability, and service. Ms. Link is an active member of Urban and Large County Elections Registration Supervisors, also known as ULSERS, Florida State Association of Supervisors of Elections, and Florida Certified Election Professionals, participating in education, training, and professional development related to her role as Supervisor of Elections. In addition, Ms. Link is a member of the American Bar Association, the Florida Bar, the State Bar of California, and Palm Beach County Bar Association, and has more than 30 years of legal experience in private practice. Ms. Link currently serves as the representative for District 9 on the Florida Supervisor of Elections Board of Directors. She is a graduate of Leadership Palm Beach County, class of 1998, and currently serves on the Florida Council of 100, the boards of the Economic Council of Palm Beach County, and the WISE School. She is a member of the District Board of Trustees for Palm Beach State College, a trustee of the Chamber of Commerce of the Palm Beaches, and a member of the City Place CDD, Executive Women and International Women's Forum. Ms. Link graduated from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, with a Bachelor of Science degree in Administration of Justice and Political Science in 1986, and from Duke University School of Law with a JD in 1989. She is the proud mother of 3 incredible sons and lives here in Palm Beach County in North Palm Beach, Florida. If you would be so kind to give her a hand clap as she comes to the stage, Ms. Wendy Satora Link.
How are y'all doing? Good. Thank you for having us here. I know a lot of you have had a chance to go over and try some of our equipment, so I just want to real quick make sure that you know who you're working with. We've got Nicole and Layla and Kim, all from our office, and anytime you want to get up, I won't be at all offended if you want to just get up while I'm talking and go try that. We brought the equipment here, of course, because we'll be talking today. We are going to be doing a pilot program. Palm Beach County has been chosen to do a pilot program, which I think that we're going to love. Now the problem is going to be whether we can afford to keep doing it or not, but I think we're going to have it at least for this special election. And what's going to happen is we're going to use these express votes. They are touch screen, but that just helps you print your ballot. It's actually, in Florida, we are a paper ballot state, so everything that we do has a paper ballot, as do these. But it's really great because it's in English, Spanish, and Creole. It also allows you to have the bigger font. You can reverse it, and it works a lot quicker. There's also some economic benefits to us to have it because it's a lot less expensive to run. than our regular printers and things. So once we get into elections, the bigger elections where we have a full county, it also should help to speed them up. One of the things that early voting, because you can go to any early voting site, it becomes sometimes a problem for us because we get these long lines. And when we have a 2-page ballot, it takes us about 45 to 50 seconds to print that ballot. Using these, because it's a thermal printer and you're only printing the very top part of it, it takes 3 seconds. So when you add that up with all those people standing in line, we ought to be able to quickly get people through them a lot quicker. So we're going to try it this year. We're going to be the first in the state to try it in our special election. And we're going to be asking for people's feedback. We're having surveys there for you, opportunities for you to tell us what you think. And then we are trying to get out at places like this in the meantime so that people will be familiar with it, know why it is. This is not new equipment. It's equipment we have. It's ADA compliant, so it's the equipment that we have been using for the last 2.5 years. And we have always had one at every single voting location, but we just haven't had a lot of people use them. When people do use them, they tell us how much they like it, that it's very easy. It also is not going to allow you to overvote. So one of the great things is, when a lot of people, there's some confusion when they're doing their ballot, they make a mistake, they vote for more than one, and then what happens is for that race, your vote doesn't count at all. And we have a lot of that happens. With this, it won't allow you to. If it only is a vote for one, once you voted for one, if you try to vote for a second, it's going to take your first vote away and give you your second vote. Gives you a lot of chances to see whether or not you're voting for the one you want or not. It will allow you to undervote. And this election coming up isn't really going to be a problem because we only have one race on it. But in other elections where you might not care about a particular race and you didn't want to vote for that because you don't know the candidates running or whatever, it will allow you to undervote, but it's going to tell you, hey, you didn't vote for this race. So you make a conscious decision to do that. So I think it's got a lot of pluses. We're anxious to see how it goes, and we're anxious to hear your feedback. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in. Let's see, Kim. Oh, there we go. All right. So we've got a couple things here that we're just going to kind of walk through with you that we wanted you to be aware of with our office, that we are trying to be a lot more involved in the community and being out working with all of our residents and trying to get more people registered to vote so that we can have more voters, and then encouraging people to get out. So in doing that, our office has either won or been nominated for a number of awards. One of the things that we're really proud of here is the bottom left talks about honorable mention for innovations in cybersecurity and technology. We were one of 5 in the country to be recognized for that. So the only one in Florida, 1 of 5 in the country. So something we focused on a lot. Just again, our locations where we're going to have, where we can serve you. We've got the closest to you is probably our North Palm Beach Gardens office up there at the North County Library. We also, or where that North County Library is, there's also the courthouse up there. We have our main office is on Summit, or Gun Club and Military. We have our voting equipment center, which is very convenient for you if you ever want to come and see that. That's where all the action's taking place on election night and leading into that. We affectionately refer to it as our warehouse, but the voting equipment is right here in Riviera Beach. And then we've also got our Belle Glade office and an office in South County. And so any way we can help you, and we'll come out to see you too. So Florida elections laws, as was talked about, they've changed. They continue to change, and they'll probably change again when the legislature goes into session in January. But we want to try to keep you up to date as much as we can on what we've got going currently. So we are a very statutory, elections are done very, very statutorily. Means that we don't get to make a lot of decisions. It's all based on statute. So how you qualify to run for office, your registration of your electors, all the procedures, all the candidate qualifying, the methods that you can vote, all of that is set forth in statute. And we had in 2021 some election law changes that are, I say, have caused some consternation. A couple of things to change your voter registration. It's a little bit more difficult than it used to be. You can still change your voter registration and change your party affiliation. You just have to do it in writing, and you have to submit a voter registration application. So you don't have to, even if you're already registered to vote, there's a place on there to say that you're changing it, and that's how you're going to do that. Changes to vote by mail are many, but some of the big ones here. If you had requested all elections, if you had vote by mail before, and you requested all elections, you might have thought that you're going to be good through 2024, but that's not the case now. You're going to be good only through 2022. After the election in 2022, then you're going to have to re-register for vote by mail. And where we used to try to make it easy on you, we had put a checkbox at your vote by mail envelope, so when you were filling out that voter certificate and signing it, you would just check if you wanted to continue to vote by mail. We're not able to do that any longer under the law. So there's not going to be sort of an easy way to do it. You're going to have to, at least as it stands right now, you're going to have to follow up and contact us and let us know that you want to register to vote by mail again. Also, you have to get your vote by mail ballots. There are new things that you have to give us. You're going to have to give us information, either your social security, the last four of your social security number, or your Florida driver's license, or your Florida ID. So without that, we're not able to register you to vote by mail. And also, if you are requesting a vote by mail ballot for a family member, you're also now going to have to give us that same type of information for them. So for other changes to vote by mail, as I'd mentioned, you're no longer going to have that little checkbox. Drop boxes. Because people were very concerned in the past about the mail making it to you. So we had increased the number of drop boxes that we had. We're still going to be able to keep drop boxes now. We worked very hard to get this back in after they took them all away. The first draft of the bill said no more drop boxes at all. And I actually did serve, I was a co-chair on the task force to bring drop boxes back. So we do have drop boxes at every early voting location, and they are the full early voting hours. The way we're setting them up, you do not have to stand in line like as though you're registering, as though you're voting. You'll be able to go to a separate line to just drop off your vote by mail at your drop box. So we will have those at early voting. Also, our 4 offices will have the drop boxes, and we will be posting for you what those hours are. We used to be able to have them 24/7, and we just had them monitored by our video, because we have 24/7 video on them, and that's no longer acceptable. So we have to have them monitored by our staff. So we're going to try to stay open a little bit, have people there outside of the, especially as it gets to the end, outside of our regular office hours a little bit later, and we'll be posting those hours for you shortly. But we will have them at all 4 of our locations as well. Another big thing that's changed is vote by mail. A lot of people would bring in for their families, their neighbors, people who were ill, they'd bring in a whole stack. Now the way the law reads is, you can see on the bottom here, possessing more than 2 mail ballots beside your own or your immediate family members is a misdemeanor. So they're getting at what they call the ballot harvesting, is what they're trying to approach here. So they did extend immediate family member does go up to your grandparents and down to grandchildren. So you can do it that far, but only 2 people outside of your immediate family members. So that's really important to know. When you bring your ballots to the drop box, we will not be reviewing your ballots and checking them and asking you whether or not these folks are your family. There's no way, as you know, family members have a lot of different names. There's no way for me to know whether this person is your immediate family member or not. So the way that, I don't know who's going to enforce it, but we have learned that it won't be us. So What we are supposed to do, if somebody is bringing in a whole stack and it appears that it could be more than their immediate family members plus 2, then we tell them who they were, and I don't know who will investigate it, to be honest with you. But that's it's going to be an interesting thing. I have a feeling that that will change. What we're hopeful is that we're not going to get into the situation where when you bring it back, we have to write down everybody you turned it in for and follow up, because my fear then is there'll be such a long line to drop off your vote by mail ballot, you know, in a drop box, and we're trying to make it convenient for you. So not sure where that's going to go, but just so you know, that's right now it is illegal to possess more than 2 outside of your family members. Here we get changes to third-party voter registration organizations. For those of you who are involved in those groups, please make sure that your group has contacted us or has make sure that they have looked at the new law, because there are new notification requirements for organizations that are soliciting voter applications. There's new restrictions and there are new penalties. They are the subject of lawsuits. I think there are maybe 3 lawsuits regarding that? So I think there's 5 lawsuits altogether out there. I think 3 specifically are targeting the language that has to be given, and so we don't know where that's going to come out right now, but currently there are a lot of changes that I know the third-party voter registration organizations are not happy about, but we want to make sure you don't get yourself in any kind of hot water. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us and we'll walk you through them. Also, changes to the no solicitation zones. The 150 feet isn't new this year. That was new last year, had increased from 100 feet to 150 feet. But now that 150 feet also is going to be from the drop box. So any place you have a drop box, you've got another 150 feet circle there. So at vote by mail, for early voting, because we will try to keep the drop boxes very close to the door, it really won't expand that too much, but that we didn't have that 150-foot circle at our offices before, and we now will, any place around the drop boxes that are at our offices. Soliciting is also, in terms of, us providing, the groups providing water, providing food, providing snacks. You're not able to do that within the 150-foot zone. That's considered soliciting, even though you're giving it out for free. So the fact that money changes hands isn't what defines that. So just know that, and anything that happens like that will have to happen outside the 150-foot zone. Interestingly, they did say that the supervisor of elections and my staff will be allowed to hand that out, but then they didn't give us a budget for that. So while I'm allowed to give you food and water, I don't have any money to do that. So please bring your own, okay? Because I can't help you there. Special election update. This is going to be the stuff that we just talked about a lot. It's very exciting. So CD 20 is, of course, the late Congressman Alcee Hastings' seat, and so we do have a lot of people who have qualified for that ballot. The cities that are listed here are all cities that are part of CD 20, and that election, as I know was just asked in the question, is going to be on November 2nd. So you can see we had the qualifying dates have already passed. You can still register to vote, however. So anybody who we can get out registering to vote till October 4th is our book closing for this. We have early voting is going to start October 23rd, and it will go right through Halloween night from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. In Riviera Beach, we do have an early voting site for this election, and it's at the Wells Recreation Center. And so that'll be your closest one. The next closest one would be for you down at the Summit Library. Okay, and then we also have one in Belle Glade, actually 2 in Belle Glade, and our office as well as the Belle Glade Library. And then new this year for this election is the Loxahatchee Groves campus of Palm Beach State College. All right, so November 2nd, as we mentioned, and then we've got for the general for that election is going to be on Tuesday, January 11th. Early voting will start on New Year's Day. So I know you all are going to be marking your calendars, and make sure you come out and visit us on New Year's Day, bright and early. Next, we're going to talk about, this is just going to show you some pictures of the Express Vote pilot program that we were just talking about. So it saves us some money on consumables. That's because we're going to be using these quick thermal heated printers that I mentioned, so we don't have to have all the consumables that go with that. It also is going to have, the paper is smaller, so that's obviously less expensive. It's going to save you some time during check-in because it only takes, as I mentioned, 3 seconds as opposed to 45 to 50 seconds. In the scanner box, what happens is after they fill up, we have to have people take them out, put them in sealed boxes. And so anytime you have people touching a ballot, that leads, for ballot accounting issues, and we try not to have too many hands touching. So one of the things that's nice is with this smaller ballot, you can also have a lot more, like 2.5 times the number of ballots can fit in there. So I think it's going to be great. Also, the whole thing will fit on one card. For this race, obviously, because it's only one race. But even on a big election, if we were to use this, it's likely we could get the whole thing on one card. So then you're just having to touch the ballots much less frequently, which is always good. And as I mentioned earlier, this is audio and visual, and it's in English, Spanish, and in Creole on this machine, where our paper ballots are just English and Spanish, and also doesn't allow you to overvote, which is great. You can track your vote by mail ballot as you have been able to do recently, going onto our website. It will tell you whether or not we have a valid request for you. It'll tell you when we've sent it. It'll tell you when we've received it and when it's been counted. And so you can also go online to look at the early voting locations and see what the wait time is, because we want you to be as convenient for you as possible. If you're interested in being a poll worker, we are always looking for great poll workers. So please consider that. It is a paid position. And so the easy poll worker application form right there on our website. And then just to point out, votepalmbeach.gov is our new domain name. We had been pbcelections.org, and the .govs, of course, have more security, so we've moved over to that. Talk just a quick minute about voter education and outreach. We have an Adopt a Precinct program that if any of you are involved, either through your churches or civic organizations, fraternities, sororities, any groups that would like to do it, it's a great way for some camaraderie with your group. You can choose a location, you adopt that location. We do all of the poll worker training the same way we would, all the same rules are followed. We train your group, you get to work with your friends, and then at the end, I know a lot of the civic groups have requirements, or the churches, for volunteer hours. So you can get your credit for your volunteer hours, and the money that we would have paid you as a poll worker, instead we pay to the organization that you've designated. And that organization can also promote itself within that group, within that polling location. So it's a lot of fun. The groups that we have do it tend to come back and have enjoyed it. So if you know of anybody who's interested, please consider that, or let them know and have them give us a call. Vote in honor of a veteran is something that we are really interested in, honoring our veterans and those who have served or are serving in our armed forces. So we have a virtual wall of honor on our website, as well as in our office, in our main office that scrolls. And when we are able to go out to the schools, which isn't as often right now with all the COVID scares, but we'll take the information about those vets, take it to the schools, and remind the students, that your right to vote isn't free. Somebody has paid a dear price for this. And we want to say, so please don't just register, we're registering you now, please actually get out and vote and honor these veterans, and we'll give them some information about a veteran if they don't have no one of their own, and say on election day, please go vote in honor of this veteran. And we have stickers available on election day that if you could choose the regular I voted, or also it says I voted in honor of a veteran, with a place for you to put that veteran's name. And so it's just a way that we can try to give back to that. We also have high school and university programs. We're starting, in fact, Layla's in charge of it, so we're also doing an internship program for high school and college students. So if you know of anybody who'd be interested in that, please have them give us a call. And we can do paid hours or volunteer hours. A lot of the high school students and college students have to have volunteer hours. We also have a volunteer task force because we're always out going to groups saying, please help us, please give us, some poll workers from your group. So we want to turn around and return the favor. So we've been involved in a number of things like Paint Your Heart Out, Habitat for Humanity, beach cleanups. We've done a number of things with the school, with education partnership and filling up backpacks and doing things like that. So we've tried to get out in the community in ways that aren't specifically election related, just volunteering for other organizations to help them. And so you'll see us out wearing our volunteer task force shirts. And if you aren't already, I would encourage you to please go online to votepalmbeach.gov, sign up for our monthly newsletter and email updates. And it's always a good way to get to us. We also have, you can email us questions at info@votepalmbeach.gov, and we'll always get back to you that way. And so with that, I'm going to turn it to you for questions. Is there anything particular you had hoped I would cover that I didn't, that I can talk about?
I think everybody can hear me.
Okay, sure.
Hi. Adopt the precinct. Okay, when you say adopt the precinct, and you say that we have to be a 501c3, or can we be an organization, within that community that would like to adopt the precinct?
Sure, it can be a recognized organization. Doesn't have to be a 501c3. Like not all churches are 501c3s, for example, or temples. We have those. We've had actually private groups who say we're gonna get together, but we're not gonna take the money for our private group. We're donating it to a 501c3. So yes, if you have an organization that qualifies, just if you have questions about a specific one, you can call us and we can walk you through it. And
okay. And with the volunteer precinct, you mentioned about you would train them. Is there a train? Yeah, I know that they have to be trained.
Right, they would go through the same training. They go right through our same poll worker training. So the precinct, it's actually a location, which is sometimes more than one precinct, but the location is going to have, polling place locations have requirements by law. For example, you can't have, everybody can't be of the same party, would be one. We have to have party diversity, it's called. So within the polling location, so say your group was primarily everybody who happened to want to work was a Democratic Party. Well, you could either find somebody to work there who's a Republican or an NPA or another party, or if you can't, you could contact us and we will get somebody for you. So we can, there are certain of our groups at certain locations have to have a Spanish speaker. And so if it was one of those locations, again, we ask you try to find a Spanish speaker. If you don't find one, we'll put one in for you.
Okay, I have another one. I'm sure everybody else has some too. But you probably have touched on this already. I know the year before last, when you first got in, I'm Ms. Bram, so I'm the one that called down at the supervisor of election, so nice to meet you. My question is because I always said about the absentee ballots, because I know you probably have touched on that, here tonight. But the pick up of the absentee ballots that are in the communities, because we know that has been a stickler there, in the process procedures. And I know when you had got in, you sent me that information in how to obtain those absentee ballots from within the community. Now, you probably workshopped that before I even got here.
All right, I don't mind telling you again, it's important. So unfortunately, yes, in the past we have explained to people that there was no prohibition on ballot harvesting, if you would call it that, but where groups would want to go, and whether it's an assisted living facility or a neighborhood organization or a group, there wasn't a prohibition on that, as long as, and we would tell you ways to do it to protect yourself. Now the law does prohibit that. That's the new law, this SB 90, and it does say that no individual can have in any election cycle, so a primary is one cycle, then it starts over again for the general. So for CD20, we'll have 2 cycles for that race. but you can't have more than 2 ballots that are not yours or your immediate family members for that entire cycle. So you'd only be able to bring 2 neighbors or friends that aren't related to you.
Okay. And does it have to be notarized, you know?
No, does not have to be notarized. It does have to be signed.
Okay.
So there's a voter certificate on the front that must be signed. There's other information there that's optional, and that would include, we ask for your email and your phone number. And the reason for that is if there's a problem with your signature, we want to reach you the fastest we can. So obviously we have your address because we got the vote by mail ballot to you. So we will always send you a letter that says there's either you forgot to sign this or there's a problem with your signature, but we know sometimes the mail takes time. So if you have provided us with your email or your phone number, if it's a cell phone, we will call you and we'll text you and we'll email you, and we'll keep doing that like 10 times till we reach you, or that we just realize we're not going to. But we will also send you a letter. But if you give us that information. It is not required to give us that. Your vote is still valid even without that information, but the only thing you have to do is sign it.
Because we live in Riviera Beach here, and this city here is set up with an influx of elderly peoples, older peoples, that are not precisely literacy into the internet system. So, and over time, we know that their signatures change, because my signature is not that beautiful as it once was. So I can imagine with the other elderly citizens in our neighborhood there, that really cannot get out, does not have the internet system and stuff. And if they are on that voter roll, and like you said, will you send them, or do you go? I know that you have a register with all of the voters. My question is it some type of way that you also can connect with those seniors there, that once when you look in that system there, and I have seen Miss Sally Ann is a registered voter here, and perhaps she has not, voted in a cycle, 1 or 2 cycles. So do you do that type of follow-up?
Well, we don't target you because you haven't voted in a cycle or 2. You're not going to be taken off the rolls or anything like that, though. So, people don't vote for a number of different reasons. We do try to send out information. We will send out voter. In fact, everybody in the county will get a new voter information card this year, because with redistricting, new lines will be drawn, so there'll be new precincts. So everybody will get a new voter information card. Last year we did send to every voter in Palm Beach County, we sent them information about the 3 ways to vote, being early voting, election day, or voting by mail. Everybody who did not have a vote by mail request, we sent them a vote by mail request form, so that if they wanted to, they had something there easy to do that. So we do try to reach out to people. Obviously, we're not able to go to their homes or something like that, but just because somebody doesn't vote doesn't mean they'll be taken off the rolls. So I'm not sure if I've answered your question right.
Yeah, okay. And I have one more, and I'm going to let somebody else have the floor. Getting back to the signature, like I said.
Yeah, actually, I'm sorry, I mentioned it. So on that, if somebody, actually, we'll have stuff here today. Do we have registration forms here? So, and everybody here who thinks their signature might have changed, make sure you grab one of these before you go, fill them out, we'll take it back for you. That'll update your signature right here. Also, for people who don't have the ability, don't have the internet, as you mentioned, and can't download an application by themselves, if they call our office, we will mail the one to them so that they can update their signature, and I'll mail them a postage paid self-addressed stamp envelope for return mail.
Well, that's what I'm trying to.
Yep, we do that.
Arrive at.
Yes, we do. We will send you a prepaid, pre-addressed return envelope to send us back your updated voter registration form.
Because my L doesn't look like my younger
Yeah,
L.
it doesn't have to be, your signature doesn't have to be exact, but.
And I may feel as if that I don't want to go through, my M's are the same, but my L's are a little bit of slant. So I would have to still update my signature with that L?
Well, I don't know if it's just your L that's changed. I'm going to tell you you're fine. You're going to be fine. If it's truly just your L, you're going to be fine because there's going to be enough other things there that are the same. So we're not looking for a carbon copy. We're not taking your old signature and making it match exactly. But everybody has to go through a signature verification class that the state puts on. So it's a little over about 2 hours. So everybody goes through that where we learn what we have to be looking for. And so I can tell you if it's just one letter, if it's only the URLs, don't worry about it. But if there's anything else, I want to make sure that you're getting your voter registration updated.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Is there anyone else that has any questions?
Yes, sir.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is William Wiley. I'm born and raised here in the city of Riviera Beach also. Ms. Brown pretty much asked all the questions here, but the question I was more concerned about also was, I want to thank you again for coming in and giving us this information that we needed just so we'll know what to do and how to do it. I saw some of the machines over here. We were experimenting with some of the machines and how easy it is, but hopefully the technology, again, for our senior citizens, maybe who may not come out, if they'll be able to come out to be able to use it, but it's very easy and very user-friendly. My question is, just so everybody at home can kind of understand, given the new electronics and the new technology, can you kind of give like a little brief summary of the safety with the internet and the possibility of, I don't want to say the word, but voter fraud, anything like that, kind of give the people at home kind of an idea of what
With the new equipment, sure. I want you to know, first of all, even though this is touchscreen, and I appreciate your question, especially as it relates to some of our elderly neighbors, because one of the things that we found is they tend to really like this equipment. It's easy to get started if they don't have to be afraid, like, oh, I'm going to get there and what am I going to do with it? We have people there whose job it is to help them get started. They give them their full privacy. They don't stand there and watch them vote, but they help them get started. They make sure they're comfortable with the screen. They tell them if they have questions they can ask, but also because you're able to blow up the font. So it's a lot easier to read than the paper ballots are. And you can also do the contrast. So if you're one that reads with a black paper better with the white letters, you can contrast to that. And also since it has English, Spanish, and Creole. Our older voters tend to really like it, and because it's easy to navigate. But I do want you to know that is not, people don't have to get worried that, oh, it's a touch screen, and so they have to worry about the security of it, because all that touch screen is doing is marking your ballot for you. There's no tabulation occurring at all on that screen. So when you're done, it's going to say, these are the ways you voted. Is this still the way you want to vote? If you've changed your mind or you think there was a mistake, you can say no, and it'll take you back and let you fix it. It's very simple. So I'd encourage you to go there and mess it up so it lets you do it again. And so you can see that. But it also, so once you're done, it's going to tell print card. We have signs that are there that says, something like, you're not done. Take your printed card and go put it into the scanner. The scanner is what's actually tabulating your vote, and that's using that paper ballot to do that. At the end of the night, we do a couple of things that you should be aware of to talk about the concerns with fraud. So at the beginning of the day, actually, our poll workers will go through and they do what's called printing a zero tape. And that's where they print to show that there are no votes at all on that machine to begin with. So it's not showing up any previous elections or any testing of it has been wiped clean. So first they print a zero tape. They confirm that every race that's on there shows 0. So now you're starting with a clean slate. You're putting in your ballots. The end of the night, we run a results tape. We run 2 of the same results tape. One we post at the precinct so that anybody who wants to come look at it in real time can come see that. Everybody, even though you're during the time that the elections are going on, so until 7 o'clock at night, you can only be in there if you are actually voting. After 7, though, anybody can come in and watch the taking down procedure. So that's open to the public, and it's very transparent. You can watch that occur. So you'll watch them print the results. hang one of them up so at a window or something or on a door so the public can see it. And then the second one comes back to our office. After that's printed and it's still nothing except being plugged into electricity has occurred, then we do what's called modeming it, and we modem the results from that machine, not over the internet. It does not go over the public-facing internet at all. It goes through a secure private line, VPN, then it will go from there directly to our warehouse. And so the results that you're seeing initially, they always say unofficial results, and that's because we've never had a problem, but we're taking those results straight from what's been transmitted. Before those results become final, we take the second sheet of paper that we just printed, and we compare what's on that paper, because that was printed before we modem the results, and we compare that to what was modemed. So I've only been there 2.5 years, but in that 2.5 years, there's never been a discrepancy. But if there was, then what we would do is we would pull those results down and we would run all the ballots again on a different machine. So that's where your paper ballot comes up. So Florida being a paper ballot state is very, very helpful for, say, making sure there's no fraud.
Very thorough. Thank you, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. She's just cleaning it for you.
Good evening. I have a quick question. For those that are interested in registering to work the polls this coming election, what can you tell us here tonight what we need to do so that we can relay the message back to those persons that are interested?
Great. So for this election, we might, I don't know that, I think for the most part, the training is well underway, and we might have everybody we need. Do you happen to know, Layla or Kim? So I think we're currently fully staffed for the primary. Now getting into the general, there could be some opportunities for that, and then certainly for all future elections. So you could just go onto our website, and there's an application there to fill out, and just let them know that you're interested. We always try to get as close to your home as possible. We'll never schedule you to work more than 5 miles away without calling you and getting your permission first to see that you'd be willing to go somewhere a little farther. Is it 5 or 10 miles? Right. And so, yep, so
Thank
then
you.
you'll just go to the poll worker training.
Thank you. I'm actually an active, I've been an inspector, I've been a clerk.
Oh, great.
So I often have individuals that come to me and ask me, hey, Darlene, what do I need to do? Do you need to go online? I noticed that the website has changed, so I will definitely pick up a brochure to be able to pass along to someone else.
Okay, great. And
Thank
it is
you.
on the website. And if the other thing is they do have to have an email, because that's how we communicate with everybody on that.
Okay.
But we have worked it out. All of the public libraries will allow people to go and use the computer to do any of the training that we need or anything. So all of the Palm Beach County Public Libraries will allow people to go. For anybody who doesn't have access to the internet or to a computer, they can do it through the Palm Beach County Public Library.
That is correct. I actually saw it in the Happenings magazine out at the, I want to say the Palm Beach Gardens location. And they have other literature on the table to pick up, and I did see that on there, so I will pass that on as well.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for being a poll worker. Appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Billy Brooks, and I do have a question, but first I must pay a compliment to one of your employees. Her name is Beth.
Beth?
Beth, yes. She works with candidates when they have questions, and she's been so helpful, so I just want to give kudos to Beth.
All right.
I'm a candidate for mayor out here in Riviera Beach. But my question has to do with how will you accommodate, or do you accommodate persons with severe handicaps who might come out in wheelchairs or some kind of assisted device? If the lines are long, will there be a way to accommodate them?
So what we're required by law to do is if somebody is, especially in inclement weather, or they're not able to stand for a long time, for whatever reason, they can come. We can't allow them without the rest of the line agreeing to it. We're not allowed to allow them to go to the front of the line, but what we can do is we can provide a place for them to sit near, and we tell the person who's right in front of them and behind them when they get in line, when they come up, to let us know so we can get the person so they can come back into the line.
Okay.
So unfortunately, the law doesn't allow, and I think the reason is because people, we can't ask you if you come up and say, I can't stand. We can't say why or what is your disability. Obviously, there are a lot of reasons people have. So we can't allow people to cut the line, but we can make an accommodation for you to sit and wait for your turn.
Okay. The other is clarification on the new regulation that you cannot provide any kind of refreshments. Now, did I hear you say that the exception would be if you are paying for?
No, we say a lot of people, because what it says is you can't have any solicitation, and they define solicit to even be food and water. And a couple of people said, well, it's not soliciting if we're giving it away.
Okay.
And so what I was saying is, unfortunately, what they've said is soliciting isn't defined by whether you pay for it or not. So even if you're giving it away, they've determined that solicitation.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I have a question. My name is Doretta Park, and my question is that volunteers are very important also.
Yes, ma'am.
So what about people coming to volunteer, and how many hours do they have to do in case they don't want to do the whole 7A to 7P? Is that allowed?
No, unfortunately. It's actually, poll workers by law have to be paid. And with the adoptive precinct, while we're not paying the particular poll worker, we actually do technically pay them, and they direct us to send their money to the organization. So we don't actually have any unpaid poll workers as poll workers. Now, we used to have people who said, I want to contribute, I want to be, and I don't want to work a 14-hour shift. So they would come to our office and do some work for us, volunteer work. At the moment, the current statute says that we cannot have any unpaid staff at all either.
Okay.
Now, it's also crazy because that same statute in a different section says that, in fact, it has to do with 150 feet, I think. It talks about the only people that can be in this area are the SOE employees or their volunteers. Well, they just said earlier in the thing that we couldn't have any volunteers. Yeah. So that's one of the things that's being brought up, and it's one of the areas that we've asked them to reconsider, because we do have a lot of people who they may have recently retired. So if you retired within the last year, you can't actually work for us, because to do so is going to mess up your pension. So it's the very first thing that we show on our poll worker training is, hey, if you have been a state employee and you've recently retired, make sure that you need to get up and leave. We can't pay, because we don't want to be responsible for messing up your retirement plan.
That's just state employees.
State, county, I think state employees, county employees, anybody who's in the county retirement, the retirement system. So because of that, we do have a lot of people who say, look, I just want to come in maybe once a month or once every week. I want to volunteer half a day. And there's always plenty of things that we have around that we could have them do. Currently, they're not allowing us to have any volunteers, but we think that will get clarified.
Okay. So was that changed, that particular law changed with Governor DeSantis?
It was just changed in this SB 90, in this last law that was passed.
All righty. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Hey, I'm here all night. I'm here till they kick me out. I'm here for you.
Get you while I have you.
You got me. Whatever you need.
Okay, this getting back to the question about the no water. Now, I've been hearing that everywhere, no water, okay. And you made the preference, what is solicitation and what is not solicitation. Suppose if I came there and I had, I would say, 6 bottles of water, okay? You can bring your own water, right? Can you bring your own water?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, if I had 6 bottles of water and I brought someone there to vote, I cannot give, in other words, I cannot give, I would say, Miss Polk a bottle of water.
Well, you guys are really close friends, and she asked you to bring that bottle of water for her. Who am I to say no? But what I would encourage you to do is do that outside of 150 feet.
Okay, not outside.
There's going to be a nice 150-foot barrier. I'm going to say, why don't you just step over there?
That's what I want to distinguish. Because when we talk about you can't give water out, you know, it's a certain boundary that you cannot solicit that water
Right.
out of.
Layla was my SB 90 expert. That was your interpretation as well, right? Yep. Outside of the 150-foot mark, you're good to go.
100 and, how many feet?
150.
150
And it's 150 from any door of the polling location. So if it's got several doors, it's going to hit every door. Also, there won't be a drop box during election day, but during early voting, we'll have a drop box, and that 150 is also from that drop box.
Okay, because I think that's very important, you know, that people understand that. My next question is, with the new machines, I can recall that they did have a receipt, because we will do that. Is that?
It's not a receipt. It's actually your ballot.
Actually,
It's not a receipt. We don't want you taking that home, because if you take it home, that means it didn't count.
It was a little piece of paper. It was a little piece of paper. I don't know whether I got a little piece of paper or something.
Well, what you got when you checked in on election day, you would have gotten a voting pass. And that voting pass is telling you you are precinct 1, 2, 3, 4. If it's a primary, you need a Democratic ballot. So you're taking that voting pass then to the person, the inspector, who's going to hand out your ballot, and they're going to look at your voting pass, and they're going to say, okay, this is the ballot that I need to give you, because at a lot of our locations, we have more than one precinct there. So they're going to make sure they're giving you the correct ballot, and you're going to sign that and sign your voting pass saying, yes, this is what my voting pass says, and they gave me the correct ballot.
Okay.
So, but we keep it, you don't keep it, so it's not really a receipt.
Okay. This is my other question that I'm going to allude to. Since I'm coming in to vote, and it's so much about whether your vote has been counted or not, is there any way, you take for instance, Ms. Brown would want to know, did her vote actually register?
Yeah, right over there.
Can I go to the supervisor of election and they can actually print me out something to show me that my vote was tabulated?
Yes, it's not, I'm not going to be able to, obviously your ballot is a secret ballot, right? So I don't know how you voted. I don't know that this ballot here is your ballot, because that's the whole idea of a secret ballot. So, but what we will be able to tell you is you came in, you put it through. If your vote does not count, we're required to notify you and tell you why your vote didn't count for any reason except receiving it after the deadline. If we receive it after the deadline, then we're not obligated to call and tell you, or to notify you. Any other reason, your signature didn't count, whatever, we have to notify you. But if you're voting in person, as soon as you put your ballot in, if you stay for that extra 5 seconds, it sort of does this little like clock-looking thing, and it'll say your vote has been counted. So you'll know, because say, for example, you overvoted. Say you were putting in a paper ballot, not from this machine, because this machine won't let you overvote, but if you had circled 2, or if you circled only 1, but you had a stray line, so the machine read it as 2 votes, it would say, you have voted 2 times for this race, and you're only allowed to vote once. If you continue, your vote in this race will not count. Do you want your ballot back? So that machine tells you all of that, and you have then the opportunity to get that ballot back and get a new one and vote again. If it did accept it, if you stay there, it goes through and it says your vote has been counted.
Because the reason that I asked that, because I'm puzzled still. Because see, once when I go in there to vote, you're gonna give me that ballot there with that precinct, and from what I can see, it had a number or something that was on it. So that was why I asked that question.
Right, it's the
Can
precinct.
I verify that my ballot vote number that was up to that top there has actually been accounted for?
Yes.
That was my question.
Yes, you'll be able to see that. Again, we're not going to be able to tell you which ballot was yours because we no longer know that, but we can tell you that you received a ballot and that ballot counted. We can absolutely give you that information.
Okay, the other question is, I'm sure you've heard about our reimagine and how we are beginning to build up our city and redo our city. In case we move one voting precinct out here, are you responsible for making sure that if we move from Wales, that if it is another location here to accommodate the voting residents, is that up to you? Because Wales has been designated as a voting place here, just like Tate, Mary McLeod School. We have an event center, because you have it over here too. And Wales has been one of the voting precincts. If we decided to do something else,
Get rid of Wells?
over in that area,
You talking about getting rid of Wells? Don't make me cry. That's one of our best early voting sites ever. Don't do that. No, we love Wells. Don't do that. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Yes, if you are doing so, if Wells is not available, then we will look for the best opportunity we can to find a new location. During redistricting, things will absolutely change because the lines will be drawn. I can't promise you that you'll have the same number of precincts because I have no way of knowing that. Like, I don't know how those lines are going to be drawn or how many precincts will be here. And then what we're also looking at is the way people vote has changed. So do you know only about 20% of voters voted in person on election day? Okay, so it used to be 80% voted on election day. So you had to make sure you had a lot of locations because you don't want to get rid of the lines. Now I'm increasing, so there were 13 locations and I increased it to 15. This last time I increased to 18 early voting locations. If my budget passes, which I'll know in about 2.5 weeks, then I'm going to increase it to 21 early voting locations because that seems to be a way that more people are interested in voting. The other thing that I've done is 2 years ago, I went to the county commission and asked them for postage prepaid on your return ballots. So again, I have made that request in my budget. I hope it will pass. And so if that's the case, then we will continue to have postage prepaid on the ballots. When we do that, we find a lot more people vote by mail. So with more vote by mail and more early voting being more popular, there may be more resources put into those than election day sites because we don't need as many because only 20% of the people voted in person on election day. So those kind of things will go into why things change. But Wells has been a great place for us. If you put something else there or tell us Wells doesn't work, but how about this location, we'll certainly work with you to do our best.
thank you.
Would you like her to spray it for you? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I was going to ask about Wells because they're considering making Wells something else or tearing Wells down. But who would make the designation of the voting spot?
So are you talking about as an early voting location or as an election day location?
Both, if it's not there.
Right, okay, so we would then move our office would be the ones to move those voters. So what we would do is for early voting, that's a much harder thing for us to move because that's obviously a lot of people. So we would have to look for where's the best, closest location that we could do that. But again, Early voting is a lot harder, again, like I said, because we're open for 14 days or weekends. It's not, people don't love having us there. But for election day, again, it would be, we would just look for someplace that's very close by that we'd be able to move the election day voters. And election day voters are much easier to relocate.
Okay, the thing about it is that Wells is it's the city's biggest voting area, and I'm surprised that the city chooses to reimagine and move Wells, because I want to know or have it change it to something else.
If they happen to, like this spot right here, this would work for early voting, I would think. I don't know whether the city would. I don't know whether the city would say, "How about this location?" But we would. Again, we're very open to working with you all because that is it's a good location for us. And so, just because it leaves Wells doesn't mean that it can't necessarily be in Riviera Beach somewhere.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I would have some place to go and vote.
Yeah, we'll make sure you have a place to vote. No question about that. Is there anybody else? All right, well, if not, please, before you leave, do go try the equipment. We want you to be comfortable with it. Let your friends know how easy it is. And if you have any questions at all, make sure that you contact our office, contact me. And thank you very much for your time tonight and for having us in here. We really appreciate it.
I want to thank everyone for coming out this evening and participating in this and giving Ms. Link some very thought-provoking questions. We do have a couple of more giveaways. So if those that are in attendance, if you will pay attention to the question that I'm about to ask, the next question that I'm about to ask is the first person to tell me when is the next election, municipal election. Mr. Ahmad, you don't. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. But what year? Okay, so I'm going to ask this question again. When is the next municipal election? March 2022. Thank you, Ms. Brooks. Ms. Brooks, get a prize. Okay, our next question is, what is the name of the city's constitution? Hello? What is the name of the city's constitution? Oh, wow. My staff said no one would get that one. That's your city charter. Okay. And our last question is, and Ms. Brooks, you've already won, so you can't win again. The last question for the giveaway this evening. What are the terms of office for the elected officials? Who was that? It was a male. Was that you, Mr. James? Okay. I apologize, Ms. Polk. Do not forget to update your signatures if you need to update your signature. And I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone for coming out. And if you have any additional questions, feel free to contact Ms. Link's office. She provided the email address. But if you did not get the email address, do not hesitate to contact the office of the city clerk at area code 561-845-4090, or you can email your question at cityclerk@rivierabeach.org. That's cityclerk@Riviera, spelled out, RIVIERABEACH.org. Thank you once again for your participation. Good night.